Hi guys. So this is a topic I have been asked many questions about. What to do after completing the MBBS course, after internship, if someone wants to move abroad for higher training and education purposes, what are the things they should focus on, how they should show it on the portfolio so that it's officially recognized, etc., etc. So I just thought I will do a video on it so that I can elaborate more properly. So in my view, there are two main processes that one can perform. One is an active one and another is a passive. In active phase, you mainly tend to lean towards exams. So for the UK, you have PLAB, MRCS, MRCP, etc. For Australia, you have AMC. For US, you have USMLE. These are very limited examples. You, of course, have many more examples, but these are the main ones. These are the common ones. Some things to keep in mind. These are registration exams, and these two are degrees in their own specialty. For example, MRCS is a degree in surgical specialties, MRCP is for medicine, etc. So when you go for higher trainings, these qualifications get counted. So just something to bear in mind when you calculate the cost, you calculate all the pros and cons. Just keep this thing in mind as well. So this is something you will prepare very actively. And again, courses you tend to pick up on some courses as you go along in everyday life, referral from colleagues, posts in Twitter, Facebook, etc. So this is something you actively pursue as well. What do you need for the course to be officially recognized is basically the course certificate and as much details. By details, I mean, for example, from the top of my head, you could focus on which specialty it focuses on, how many hours the course was, how many CPD points it awarded, which consultants were present, get it signed off by a consultant. If there is no sign of paper available officially, what you could do is you could write a letter on behalf of the consultant and give it to the consultant and ask them to review it and sign it if appropriate. They may make additional changes. So get as much details as possible. Also, something to bear in mind, if you want to apply for something very specific, for example, core surgical training or higher specialty training, wherever you want to apply to, go to the website and find out their eligibility criteria, person specification, etc. And you will find a detailed evidence required section, or they will elaborate how they want you to present your evidences. So that's something to bear in mind. This is something unique to surgical practices, but in medicine, I guess you could log some interventions as well. Anyway, so surgical experience wise, you have your e-logbook. I'll put down the link in the description. I will make a separate video about it later on to elaborate how one should upload the surgical experience in the e-logbook. E-logbook is accepted in the UK. You just have to find the proper e-logbook. There are a lot of logbooks online. So e-logbook is something, and ISCP is something we use. I will not focus on it too much because it's essentially a paid thing, and there is an unpaid one, but anyway, I would not recommend it at the stage where one just passed his MBBS or primary medical qualifications. So this is something for later on in the career. Then we talk about passive things that you could do. Passive things are things that you could, for example, in audit, you find a topic and you find some people. I have made a separate video about audits. I will put down the link in description as well. So in each step, there may be a bit of wait. So for example, you proposed an audit and the audit department is waiting. You are waiting for the audit department to sign it off as a valid audit, or let's say you have completed the audit and you're waiting for your consultant's sign off or audit department sign off. So these are like passive things which go behind the curtain a lot. So usually the evidence required, I've taken the evidence required from CST application, course surgical training application. Again, the link will be down in description, but these are more or less, these are the evidences required for any kind of application you make. So usually audit report is kind of like a summary of the audit, outlining what you've done, what you've focused on, what are the results, what are the conclusions, what are the remarks and planned outcomes. This is something you need for an audit presentation. So after you've done an audit, you must have presented it somewhere to make people aware of the result of the audit and further actions as well. So the presentation in the PDF, what you could do is, usually people present in PowerPoint presentations. So what you could do is you could print it out as PDF format and save it as audit presentation. Letter from the consultant. It doesn't have to be a lengthy letter, just detailing some aspects. The name of the consultant, who is the supervisor of the audit, registration of the consultant, relevant registration. For example, in UK you have GMC registration, and the date. Okay. Depending on where you want to apply, for example, if you want to apply in my specialty, for example, as an ST3, there is an audit supervisor form available online. So wherever you want to focus on, just focus on that particular website and particular eligibility criteria and evidence required. Okay. Come to presentations. So after you pass your MBBS, you will do some stuff like research and audits, etc. And you want to present whatever you have done in however small setting or large setting possible. So some settings may include in a hospital or local setting. Regional means if it's different hospital in the same region, that means it's a regional meeting. And if it involves hospitals from other regions of the country as well, then it becomes a national presentation, national conference or gathering, or whatever you want to call it. In the UK, for example, you can go by deaneries. So if in the meeting you have hospitals from only one deanery, that would be counted as a regional meeting. But if you have even one hospital outside the region, that becomes a national meeting. Okay. International speaks for itself. Evidence required is copy of the oral presentation slides or poster presentation, to include the title, name of the authors, presenters. So you may be presenting someone else's work. That is also fine, but you have to declare who were the authors and who is presenting and to what degree. Okay. Copy of letter of acceptance of oral or poster presentation, or copy of event program citing presentation to include. This is usually easier. It's available easier, the event program, because once you register to an event, you will be given a slot to present. So in that slot you can say that yes, I have presented in that slot, where the name of yourself would be included, name of yourself and the authors, the institution convening the meeting, date of the meeting presentation, and the certificate of attendance of the event. So just bear in mind, you may come across a meeting where all these are not available, or one is not available, or two is not available. In that case, what you could do is you could propose a draft. You make a draft and you go to the program organizers or the supervising consultant or the supervising body and just be frank with them. Tell them, this is what I need for my portfolio. Would you be happy to review this and sign it for me, please? That is completely acceptable. Okay. Now come to publication. Publication is something which many IMGs actually lack in. So when applying for higher trainees, publications carry a lot of marks, and they are very important thing to keep in mind, right? So what do you need as an evidence required? Article, in case of articles or case reports, you need the article with PubMed ID, or the letter of acceptance from a regulatory body that includes name of the applicant as first author or co-author, whatever you signed up for, confirmation of acceptance for publication, name of accepting journal, date of acceptance, and the title of the article. All the publications may not be PubMed indexed. That doesn't mean you won't get points on that. So again, depends on where you are applying to. It depends on their eligibility criteria. This I've taken from the core surgical training application. So in there they have specifically mentioned PubMed ID, but in many cases you may not require it. So my advice is, wherever you want to publish, aim for the highest recognized institution or journal to publish in. But if you can't, don't just leave the project completely. At least aim for somewhere to be published. It can be national. If not, aim for international, of course, PubMed cited. If not, then go for international, non-PubMed indexed. If not possible, go for national publication. If not, at least in-house or local presentation. If not, then go for e-poster or poster presentations. There are a lot of options. Okay. If this thing is in press, if the publication is in press, what you need the letter of acceptance for publication, and you need, again, the name of the applicant, confirmation of acceptance, name of accepting journal, date of acceptance, title of the article, and a statement confirming that the journal is PubMed cited. Again, this thing is not mandatory in all the applications. If you've written a book, this is a very impressive thing to do. And I know a lot of my juniors who have done this. And essentially, if you've written book chapters, you need to include front and back cover of the book. You have to include the title of the book, publishing house, and an ISBN number. Also, you need contents page showing the chapter and applicant as author. You may not necessarily you need to be author to every single chapter, but there may be some chapters that you've written, some portions you've written, you may be co-author in some, you may be principal author in some, but I don't think you need to be involved in every single chapter. Okay. Cited collaborative author, and again, you need the copy of the published article, which needs a PubMed ID, title, name of the journal, and article page where the collaborative authors are cited. Prizes. Again, this is something we tend to lack in because we don't enter ourselves into any competition, and even if we win something, we don't tend to keep proper records of it, and even if we do, we don't tend to keep all the records which are needed. As a result, when we submit this as evidence of prizes, they have the potential of getting rejected or not be counted. So when you are claiming for a prize, make sure what you are claiming the prize for. Is it for presentation? Is it for a research paper or research article or a research process? Whatever you have done, as above, as we have spoken in detail above, you need to have proper documentation of whatever it is that you are claiming prize for. For example, if you're claiming for, let's say, a case report presentation, then you have to have all these things to start off with, right? And then you go for prize certificate or signed letter from the institution conferring the prize that is required. And for regional or local meetings, you need a letter from educational supervisor with above information. That is also acceptable. Teaching experience. This is something we tend to do. The IMGs usually tend to do a lot, but again, we lack in documentation by a mile. So when you are displaying teaching experience, you must include a letter from consultant confirming the involvement in designing and organizing teaching program. Letter must be signed and must include the consultant name, their registration number. Doesn't need to be GMC. If in other country, use the relevant registration number, and dates of activity. So I would put a bit more detail. For example, I would include where the teaching took place, who were the audiences, what it was focused on, what was the duration, how many hours and how many days, encircling how many days, and usually each hour corresponds to one CPD hour. So you could just mention, let's say, 4 hours a day for 3 days. That corresponds to around 12 CPD points. So you could put that as well. And then I would also include some of the feedback. If it's, you don't need to be nitty-gritty detailed. You could just say overall the feedback was very positive, and people wanted me to arrange this teaching on a regular basis, something like that, provided that these are true, provided that you actually arranged a teaching which was appreciated. Of course, I'm assuming that. Okay, and evidence of formal feedback. This is what I was talking about. As participant surveys or ISCP assessment, please ensure the audience demographic is anonymized. This is very important whenever you are submitting something, especially like these sort of things. It's very, very important to be anonymized. You cannot publish your students, your patients' informations. When you are preparing feedback forms, if, for example, you could use Google Forms, there are systems in place to keep things anonymized. Even you would not be able to tell which person voted in which category and how did they vote, etc., etc. So make sure that is absolutely anonymized. So you need this criteria and this criteria, and then so this or this. Okay, so either feedback from the people that were your targets, or letter from the consultant confirming involvement in delivering teaching and that participant formal feedback has been reviewed as acceptable. The letter must be signed, consultant name and number, dates of activity. So again, I would go for both of these essentially, because both of these are not quite difficult to arrange and to get. Okay, I will make a detailed video later on about e-logbook. I will put a link down below for the audit video and the CST self-assessment as well. If you have any questions, feel free to put down in comment section, and hope you have gained some experience and you have gained some light as to how to proceed on your next journey. And again, happy to have any questions. Thank you. See you in the next one. Peace.